Aren't you supposed to be reviewing that?
Oh, crap. Greetings, Retro Zoltan here. Up for review today is the Anbernic RG405v. Now, if you're kind enough to watch my channel, you're probably already thinking, hey, didn't you already look at the RG405M? And I'm guessing not much is going to change other than a horizontal player to a vertical one. But even with these minor differences, let's dive in and see what Anbernic did, what the differences are, and whether or not this is for you. Now, first things first, this didn't come from Anbernic. This was a wonderful birthday gift from my true love. And let's be honest, who wouldn't love someone who supports your handheld gaming habit? The box the RG405v comes in is the usual Anbernic situation. Nice tight packaging, a charging cable, directions, a tempered glass screen protector kit, as well as an SD card. Now, I was so excited to boot this thing up originally, I didn't put the included SD card in until later, which was a huge mistake. But I'll get into that later. The unit itself, the RG405v, is pretty large. It's hard to tell because I have big hands, which stresses the fact that if you have big hands and you like vertical handhelds like the Game Boy DMG, you're going to be pretty happy here. I've heard this thing referred to as the big boy or fat boy, and yes, I can see what they mean. It's by no means small, as it tries to give the user everything that they're going to want for this type of form factor. Mine, of course, came in a wood grain shell, but if you're not into that sort of thing, it also comes in a transparent purple and a sort of DMG white color that's pretty interesting. I have to be honest, the white one reminds me of those magnifying crazy Sci-Tech Game Boy shells that makes the whole Game Boy look ridiculous. Anyway, the wood grain shell plastic feels like wood. I'm not kidding. I'm not sure how they did it, but it sort of has this slight gritty feeling that makes the plastic feel like, well, sanded wood. I thought maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me, but yeah, it's a thing, and if you're easily impressed like I am, you're going to be blown away. Holding the RG405v, for me, feels comfortable. It's heavier than I expected, but it feels like a good quality, and the back has curves that make you not want to put this thing down. The front looks pretty busy and has a standard Anbernic D-pad that feels pretty good. I can't really pick anything negative to say about it, so I'll just leave it alone. Okay, I lied. I will say that it feels extra springy, but it's new and I'm guessing over time I'll get used to it, or it will wear down and feel less pronounced. The ABXY buttons have that candy-like look that I always like, as well as the letters on the buttons, which I appreciate. They're a bit small, but it's not a huge deal breaker. The two analog sticks are a nice touch, and for those that love analog sticks, you're going to love these, although they're not recessed like on the other systems. The middle button, which is labeled the home key, is a mystery to me at the moment. Not sure what it's for other than probably dropping out of games. I'll talk about that later. Also on the front is the expected select and start buttons that are a hard plastic. Call me old-fashioned, but I prefer these buttons to be always rubber, but no big deal, I'm being super picky now. On the bottom is a headphone jack, to which is the best location for one in my opinion, as well as two speaker holes which look exactly like SD slots. If you suddenly have mono sound and your SD isn't working, you know what you did wrong here. On the left side is where the SD slot is really located, as well as a function button that I absolutely love, and I'll talk about that soon. On the right side is a volume rocker switch and a power on-off button. Anbernic did a very good job at making all these side buttons very flush against its case. On the top is a USB charging port and a vent, which whenever I see a vent I'm always shocked for some reason. It's the second time I've seen one, so I'll get over it eventually. On the back hosts something I haven't seen before at all. It's a cooling fan, which I hear you can control in the menu somewhere. By default, though, it's going to cool itself off whenever it feels the need to. Also on the back, which I find incredibly impressive, are the trigger buttons. Finally, companies are getting these right, and they're certainly more comfortable than the ones in the past. For me and my large hands, they're a little too close to each other, but I think that's my problem, not Anbernic. I'm not sure how to solve this, but the way to hold this thing is also right near the trigger buttons, and at times I press them by accident. Not a huge deal, but a little annoying. And that's about it for the hardware. Nothing truly concerning if you ask me, with the exception that there's no HDMI out port, but they played the same tune with the 405M. Turning on the RG405v for the first time out of the box may confuse you if it's your first time using a handheld gaming device running Android. Anbernic, however, took the time to have a sort of welcome screen to have everything set up for you perfectly. I recommend having your included SD card in now, because if you don't, you'll have to add it later. And to be honest, when putting the SD in after the setup, it ended up being a completely confusing experience.
Huh?
If you end up in this position, seriously, just do a factory restart and do it again with the SD. You'll thank me later. It's pretty simple from here. Just choose your language, then start use, and then let it do its thing uninterrupted. They didn't say so, but be sure to have a full battery or be plugged in while it's setting up. The battery dying at this time will be an issue.
Gonna have a bad time.
Once that's done, you'll be confronted with this girl animation, and it's pretty much done. Now from here, you can load up each emulator and start playing, but it's not for the faint of heart. It's a much more enjoyable experience just loading up the Anbernic front end so you can start playing. Now, I had difficulty from this moment on the RG405M, but I figured out eventually how to load up the Anbernic game mode, which just makes this entire affair a lot easier experience for everyone. Just swipe down twice and click the RG icon and you're in. A shortcut to this also is the function key on the left side, which will switch between the Android 12 menu and the Anbernic game mode, which to be honest, I really love for new users. There are advantages to being in what I'll just call the Android menu mode, with just mentioning that you can use Google Play to install whatever you want and play whatever Android game you want to have on this thing. Keep in mind though that some games are going to load up sideways because it doesn't know that you're playing a vertical handheld. Also, some games will work right off the bat as far as controls go, while others need some setup help. But overall, you have a lot of extra options here. Want to use your RG405v to surf the internet? You can do that. But why would you want to do that? That's crazy talk. Oh, sorry. With the proper setup, Moonlight game streaming works well on this device, but I won't claim I'm very good at it or have a great network to really use this like others may. Still, the ability is there for those that like this sort of thing. And once I understand it more, I'll probably get more excited about it. Anyway, out of the box, the RG405v, including the SD card, full of ROMs, has the following systems: Nintendo Entertainment System, Sega Master System, PC Engine, Capcom Play System 1 through 3, Final Burn Neo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. Also included is Neo Geo, Super Nintendo, PSP, Nintendo DS, 3DS, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo GameCube, PlayStation 1 and 2, Sega Saturn, Nintendo 64, MAME, Dreamcast, Neo Geo Pocket, and WonderSwan. True talk here, I still think I have something in my coffee when I tell you a handheld system plays PlayStation 2, Wii, and Nintendo GameCube. But here we are, in the future.
Welcome to the world of tomorrow!
Do all these systems work perfectly? Well, no, but we're a lot closer than we used to be. Systems that were used to being a big fail like Nintendo 64 is now working pretty much perfect, and PSP isn't showing any problems at all. And Dreamcast is a worry for the past. Sega Saturn, been there, done that. It works great. Which leaves the new trifecta of handheld gaming slowdowns, which is now the PlayStation 2, Wii and GameCube, and the 3DS, which, with these emulations, you're going to get mixed results, just like older systems with the older problems. Some play fine while others need tweaking or divine intervention. It's just like before where you cross your fingers and hope your favorite game made the cut and it works. I wish you luck. Adding your own ROMs to play your favorites is the same as before. Just pop your SD into your PC and plop them into your respected directories. As I looked at these files, I wondered how hard it would be to add new systems like Atari Lynx or Intellivision. I wasn't really successful in finding a good, easy way to do this, but as I discovered with the RG405M Daijisho, a program you can pick up off the Google Play Store, will help you play up to 94 systems. Is that enough for you? I hope so. I won't go too into detail on how Daijisho works, but if there's enough interest, I can certainly whip up some sort of video. Just let me know. As far as the button in the middle of this thing, one I was questioning all along has become one of my favorite buttons. If you ever get stuck on a game or anything in general, just hold it for a few seconds and it gets you out. Think of it like the menu button on your remote if you loaded up Crunchyroll streaming by accident and can't find a way to get out of it. Again, if you step back and look at this thing, it looks very busy and bulky, but it's literally the RG405M pushed into a vertical shape for your pleasure. Both the RG405M and RG405V have the same exact CPU. So in this case, if you're comparing the two, you don't have to consider much other than the form factor. I love my RG405V, and just like the M, I had a hard time putting it down for review instead of just playing it. That has to mean something, right? And that's all I have to say about the Anbernic RG405V. Thanks for watching, thanks for your support, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye.
Huh?